Deep Space Nine. Star Trek's exploration of the final frontier has spanned 5 decades now, with more to come, as Faith explains.
Space, the final frontier.
It's a line that launched a pop culture powerhouse.
Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds.
A line that, would you believe, even 50 years later, still doesn't sound quite right to William Shatner, a.k.a. Captain James Tiberius Kirk.
When I heard it, I thought, I'm not doing it right. There's something I'm not doing. It's not right.
Oh, I think millions of people, millions and millions, would beg to differ.
All decks go to full alert.
Star Trek, the original series, which lasted just 3 years from 1966 to 1969, boldly set off on a voyage that's still traveling at warp speed half a century later.
50 years ago, when you...
Did you say 50 years ago?
That show led to spin-off series and movies, including a 2009 big-budget reboot that introduced Kirk and his gang to a new generation of fans. It's a good time to be a Trekkie. And those at last month's annual Star Trek convention in Las Vegas, no matter what the species, were feeling out of this world.
It was a pilgrimage for us, 50 years. 50 years.
There, among the Kirks and the Spocks and whatever this is,
It calls itself a Horta.
A Horta.
we found perhaps Star Trek's most important fan of all, 83-year-old B. Joe Trimble.
So when you sat down in front of your TV on September 8th, 1966,
Right.
what did you see and how did you feel about it?
Well, we were thrilled to have grown-up science fiction finally, not, there's an ugly monster, let's kill it.
That night, Bijo and her husband John discovered a sci-fi show they could warm up to in the middle of the Cold War.
What kind of message did Star Trek give to audiences who were worried that the world might be blown up in the next 10 years?
Well, the message was maybe it wouldn't be.
Did you ever hear of a doomsday machine?
No, I'm a doctor, not a mechanic.
It's never meant to be used. So strong it could destroy both sides in a war. Something like the old H-bomb was supposed to be.
Creator Gene Roddenberry may have pitched his show to the NBC brass as a wagon train to the stars,
Ahead, warp factor 2.
but it was his hopeful view of the future, stories of a racially diverse crew settling problems peacefully, that turned its viewers on. Still, by the end of the second season, word got out that the voyages of the Starship Enterprise were about to be canceled.
My husband, we talked about it, and he said, there ought to be something we could do about that.
Using 20th century technology of pen, paper, and postage stamps, Bijo boldly went where few fans had gone before and began a letter-writing campaign to save Star Trek.
And sent it to whom?
Not only to NBC, but to all the NBC affiliates, to all your local TV stations, and, most importantly, all the sponsors.
It worked. Star Trek was renewed for one more season.
It's a news broadcast using a system I think they once called video.
Television was the colloquial term.
Though officially canceled after that third season, Bijo's efforts meant that Star Trek now had enough episodes, 79 of them, to live on in reruns.
And that is how a whole generation of new Star Trek fans discovered the show.
Scott Mantz is the film critic for Access Hollywood, and if his bar mitzvah photos are any indication, a lifelong Trekkie.
Keep in mind that when Star Trek premiered, you had television shows like Bewitched, like Gomer Pyle, and yet you flip the channel and you're watching Star Trek? This was so ahead of its time.
For Mantz, it wasn't just the storytelling that was ahead of its time, it was the way Star Trek motivated viewers to become fans.
No entertainment property before Star Trek had done like a convention, organizing fans, bringing people together to dress up like their characters.
And then there are those Star Trek fans who've become Star Trek family.
Is this really your last
graciously and took my last name.
Oh, bravo!
That's a
Bravo,
wise
sir.
choice. That was a
I
wise
would have done the same thing.
May I introduce my son, Patrick James Tiberius.
Tiberius!
I love it!
And if all this seems a little spacey to you, consider all the Star Trek science fiction that today is science fact.
There are many things that they had in Star Trek that we have today, either on the ground here on Earth or in space.
Special advisor to the Intrepid Museum in New York City, Mike Massimino grew up watching Star Trek. A few decades later, he explored the final frontier for himself.
Things like a communicator cell phone.
Kirk here.
The use of computers.
This unit is the ultimate achievement in computer evolution.
Flat screen monitors, iPads.
But it wasn't just the technology that was ahead of its time.
If you look at the space program in the 60s when it came out, it was primarily white male test pilots who were there. Then it expanded over the years into civilian scientists and then men and women and people of color and even big Italian guys from New York, me.
Ready, main phasers.
Which brings us back to the captain. For the Shakespearean-trained actor, Star Trek has always been, first and foremost, all about entertainment.
Fascinating.
You have interesting villains. You have strange, wonderful life forms. You have mental gymnastics, plots.
You have love.
And you have love. Lots and lots of love. Oh, yes. Pardon me a moment while I think about all that love.
And for the fans, now there's more love than ever. A new spin-off launches on CBS All Access in January. The voyages of the Starship Enterprise are far from over.